I would have started. But if I didn't have faith in God, I think somewhere along the line I would have just stopped and say, you know what, this is not working. Because I mean, after 2 weeks, it's like I was embarrassed. Like, dude, I had all this, and then now it's like I have a duffel. I'm walking to the laundry room just to do laundry, and then to walk back. It's at that time I was embarrassed. That was a very embarrassing point in my life, and I tell people like I was a glorified homeless person.
Hey guys, Michael Garcia, IC Life. Welcome back to the channel. Today I have the privilege of having a special guest, Milo Odne. And I met Milo through the health insurance side of things over here. And he has just an incredible story. And it's one of those things, it has to be told. I think it's a story that it's going to help so many people going through their entrepreneurship journey, going through the different phases of building a business and just life, right? And um, Milo, there was one call I was on, and you were able to share a lot of your story, and it just caught my attention and your faith. And uh, I really want to just hear from you, kind of how you got into the industry, or even just started your entrepreneurial journey, like where it started, and kind of the struggles that you went through. Because when you were telling the story on this other call, I was amazed, and I want you to share that because I know it's going to have a big impact on a lot of people.
I mean, there's been a lot of stories. I know we've done a lot of training in the past couple of years, so. But
Yeah.
I think the one you're talking about is the one where I was sleeping in my store when I had my nutrition store. Is that the one you're referring to?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a tough story. But I mean, to get started, like as far as like how I started, entrepreneurship and stuff like that. Um, for me, it's always been like with how I was brought up with my mom and stuff. Like watching her, like she'll make $1 out of 2 cents. Like she'll, she'll make it happen. Like whatever she can sell, she'll find a way to sell it, and and generating money and provide for my brother and I. But I started I last time I worked for myself, I want to say 2000, I mean, worked for someone. I would say 2012, 11, 2011, 12. And I was working for my friend, and he gave me an opportunity to manage one of his stores. And I did it. I did the best I could. And I wanted to open my own. And I went to him. I said, "When did you realize you were able to open your own store?" He said, and his response to me was, "The fact that I did it for someone else, I can always bet on myself." I was like, "Yep, that's the green light I needed. All right, thank you." Because same thing for me. Like I did it for him. I was like, okay, so if I can do it for you, I can do it for myself as well. So from then on, I branched off, and with that business, I think I had like 28 offices throughout Florida, and we were getting ready to expand to some other states, but that project stopped. It took a big hit, and what led me to sleeping in my nutrition store. So I had a gym, and the business I had prior to that, I had to file bankruptcy, right? And when you have an income of over $1 million, you're gonna owe a lot of money in taxes. When that business is no longer available or to support that kind of that tax bracket, you're gonna owe a lot of money, and that's what happened. I owed the IRS of like a little bit over 1.5, I want to say,
Yeah.
and the only way to get rid of that debt was to file for bankruptcy. To be honest with you, and I did. I'm not saying bankruptcy is for everyone, but for my particular case, it worked out in my favor. I gave them a gem. They took whatever they could out of the equipment, and I walked away with not owing that debt anymore, right? So it actually worked in my favor, and of course to them, they got what they could out of it. And so when I filed for bankruptcy, I had some money, and I was able to open my nutrition store. And with the nutrition store, the only thing I had left to my name that was paid off was my car. So, and my bankruptcy attorney, he's like, "Hey, they want that car." I'm like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "That's all I have left." He's like, "Yeah, it's paid off and they want the car." I'm like, "Oh man, come on." And I'm like, listen, I have faith in God, bro. I'm a believer. If you could just please just go back to him and say, hey, is there any way I can keep the car? He's like, Milo, I know these people. They're not gonna let you do it, but since you're a client and I have to do what you tell me, I'll do it. He coming back like the next day. He's like, Milo, like I told you, then I gone. They want the car, and it's crazy because I'm like, oh my gosh, that's all I have. And at that time, my store is in Brandon, and I was going from Winter Haven to Brandon, which is a long drive. And I already have a store. I got clients. I got a business to run, and I had nowhere else to getting there. I had no money saved up because I just filed for bankruptcy. There's nothing left in my account. Like I'm back to square one with zero.
Yeah. Well,
You know, the and I had a message from a friend of mine. He sent me a video of Pastor Michael Todd from Transformation Church a
mhm.
while back. Never watched the video. Never watched the video. And for some reason, that message was still there. So I opened the message and I watched the video. And it was the video of Crazy Faith, right? There's like, it's a series that he got on YouTube. And I watched the video and I felt connected to that message. Like you gotta have some crazy faith for things to work out for you. And I'm telling you, it was like as you and I having a conversation right now, and I was like, what am I gonna do? I can't get rid of this car. If I get rid of it, there's how am I gonna get home back to my shop? And it was as clear as day. It's like you're gonna have to sleep here. For how long? Honestly, it was like I said, like we're having a conversation right now, and the answer was like 90 days. I didn't question it. I didn't do anything. I went home. I packed some bags. I got a couple of duffels, put some clothes that I could wear on a day-to-day basis. There's a laundromat down the street. There's a Walmart down the street I can go grocery shopping, and there's my gym right down the street I could shower. So, question, I just did my thing, and I stayed faithful through that time. And I watched the series every like throughout the weekdays. I kept watching it, and on Sundays I would tune into his service. And dude, believe it or not, on the 90th day, and I'm gonna tell you the crazy thing about that. So on which I don't think I told you guys when I told that story last, but on the 90th day, I was able to. I got a text message say, "Hey, you approved for this car." Probably like one of those messages I was on Instagram late night, just scrolling and applying for stuff, right? And I got a text message that says, "Hey, you approved for the car." I'm like, approved for a car? I don't even remember applying for a car for a car loan, right? And so I called one of my friends. She picked me up, and we drove to the dealership. I took everything I had. I think I had like $500 to put down in the car, and I think I had about $150 left. So I had $650,
Yeah.
close to 700, right? And I went there. My down payment was 500. I needed $150 for insurance to walk away with the car, and that's all I needed. It was the exact moment. Now here's the
Huh.
crazy part. I didn't know it was the 90th day until the next day. I look back at my calendar. I'm like, holy crap! It was 90 days to the T that took me to that process to where I was sleeping on the floor. Like it was cold. I remember one time I got sick. It might have been COVID. I can tell you right now, before COVID was COVID, because I for no reason I was in my shop sleeping and I was sweating, fever hot, and I woke up the next day like nothing happened. Right? But for that 90 days, I go to the gym in the morning, get my workout 5 o'clock, shower, stop at Walmart on the way back, get some food for lunch, and then process my day, open my shop, serving customers all day. And at nighttime, I would just go to the gym for a quick cardio, shower, and walk back. And that was my process for 90 days. Now, the crazy thing was in that 90-day process, that Saturday I got the car. On Monday, that's when they shut down all the gyms for COVID.
Oh, wow.
So I
Just
got so his timing, the guy's time was perfect. So I was able to get the car so I can be able to go back to my house in and out and not worry about where am I gonna shower, how am I gonna eat, stuff like that. So it happened to the exact there's no other else I can put it. It's all faith, man. Put
Yeah,
your
no,
faith.
it's an incredible story, and I think the a lot of entrepreneurs they get into business and they think as soon as they get in business they're going to make all this money. It's like all the glitz and glamour, and I feel like the real entrepreneurs they've been through it, right? Like you've been through it, right? And you were willing to sleep at the gym. You're willing to sleep in your office. You're willing to sleep in the car, right? Like it doesn't matter where, but you were willing to go through it, Milo. And I think that's what a lot of people miss. And how much of that was just your faith? Like if you didn't have that faith in God, would you have gone through what you went through?
In a way, yes and no. Um, I do a lot of self development, personal
Okay.
development, right? And
Yeah.
I'm always listening to some positive stuff. Like my favorite guy to go to is Jam Ron. That's who I call my mentor. I consider my mentor. I never met that guy, but that's who I consider my mentor. And I listen to a lot of other people as well. And the way I say yes is I think I would have started, but if I didn't have faith in God, I think somewhere along the line I would have just stopped and say, you know what, this is not working. Because I mean, after 2 weeks, it's like I was embarrassed. Like, dude, I had all this, and then now it's like I have a duffel. I'm walking to the laundry room just to do laundry, and then to walk back. It's At that time I was embarrassed. That was a very embarrassing point of my life, and I tell people like I was a glorified homeless person because I wasn't sleeping in the street. I had a roof over my head. I was able to sleep in my store, but I was homeless pretty much. That's how I would look at it, right? So it's a yes and no thing, and like I said, I probably would have been able to start, but I know without the faith, I was not gonna be able to last that long and just finish and go through that for sure.
think
And
uh I think God's testing you, right? He's like seeing what are you willing to do to make things happen. And I don't know if I ever shared this with you, Milo, and it's not to steal your thunder. I want this episode to be all about you, but um I don't know if I ever shared this with you, but the reason I became an entrepreneur is I got custody of my daughter.
yep.
And I remember when I was going through the divorce process, my uncle, he was dying. He had cancer. And the last thing he told me was, you need to have her. And I had brought my daughter with me. We were there to visit him. And I said, she's right here. And he goes, no, you need to have her all the time. And at the time, I didn't know there was any issues with her mom. Like I didn't know what was going on. I was like, I literally told him that's impossible. Her mom's never gonna let me have her all the time. And he died on February 10th. And then the reason I'm bringing this up, because you mentioned the timing, the exact 90-day timing, right?
Yeah.
So he dies February 10th, 2014. Now, fast forward later that year into September, and I've started realizing there's some issues, right? I need to take care of my daughter. I didn't know what to do. I had no custody, no rights to her. And I remember the day, September 19th, I prayed and I just said this. I said, God, I don't know what your plans are for me, for her, but I want her. I promise I want to raise her. And I promise if you give her to me, she'll grow up to know you. Milo, for every time that the Bible says within the hour, God answered, 45 minutes later, I get a phone call from her mom's cell phone. And I actually hung up the first time because she had called me like her mom had called me drunk 2 weeks prior. And I thought, oh, she's out late at night again. This is 12:30 in the morning. And then it
Hmm.
rang again. I picked it up and she said, hey, Michael, is this Michael Garcia? I was like, yep, this is so and so at the sheriff's department. You need to come pick your daughter up right now. And her mom was being arrested for DUI, for child endangerment, because my daughter was in the back seat. She was fighting with her mom was fighting with her boyfriend while they were drunk and driving the vehicle. And for me, that was my green light because within the hour, I just asked for her and I get this phone call that says, you need to come pick your daughter up right now. Right. And I get there and the police even tell me you should fight for full custody. And to kind of skip kind of the details of the whole custody battle, fast forward, her mom doesn't show up for her DUI charge. I end up in court and she doesn't show up because she has a warrant out for her arrest.
Wow.
And the lawyer told me, "Oh, nothing's going to happen today. They're going to send you to mediation, blah blah blah." And the judge asked me because I wrote a statement. He goes, he swore me into oath, and he said, "Is all this true?" And I said, "Yes, sir. And I told him I only included the things I have proof because I've heard other things going on too.
Yeah.
I just don't have any proof of it, right?" And so he goes, "Do you know what's going on with her other court case?" I said, "I have no clue." He says, "All right, we're going to have a recess and we're going to find out." I'm going to find out. We come back and he hands me the minutes from her court case. That's when I found out she had the warrant for arrest and she didn't show up. And he just said, "Doesn't seem like Ms. Garcia is acting very responsible, does it?" "No, sir. I award you sole custody." Milo,
Well, let
Milo,
me tell you.
listen, the date, the date of this court case was February 10th, the year anniversary that my uncle passed away and told me that I needed to have her. And nobody else in my family believed that was ever going to happen. I didn't even believe it was going to happen. Um, but that's why, like in my entrepreneurial journey, even with the ups and downs and everything I've been through, I never, I never waver on what I'm doing because I have that faith in God. And it's like, nah, he's been there. He's carried me through all this. Like
Absolutely, man.
he's not letting me
That's a
down
crazy
now,
story right there.
you know?
Crazy
And
story. I mean, he does everything on his timing. It's not in your time. It's his timing, and you just gotta have faith that it's gonna happen. And no matter what, it could be today, 2 years from now, 20 years from now. It doesn't matter. Just keep believing that whatever you were promised, that is gonna deliver. So it's crazy, man. But I'm glad you got your daughter now.
yeah, me too. And that's what caused me to get into insurance because I was working a job and I needed a way to be home with her, right? To control my schedule better. And so that's when I started looking for other ways to make money. So it's crazy the way everything works out. But Milo, so take me back to where you're at now. Like, well, in the story, COVID happens and the gym closes down, and what happens as far as your businesses? How does this eventually get you into the insurance industry, by the way, too?
So with COVID happening, everything, and I mean, COVID actually shut down that store when COVID hit, because I was barely getting by with a new store that I just opened right after bankruptcy, and I mean, you could barely pay rent, and then COVID hits. But no one's showing up to your door. We tried a lot of different stuff, delivering to people, and trying to do like some stuff for the community, giving out free stuff just so people know we open, and none of that was working. And eventually, I had to close the store, moved everything to online, servicing all my clients and all everybody online. And I did that for a while, and then it took off. And then actually with COVID, actually it was better. I didn't have any overhead, and I was getting more clients left and right. And then one of my good friends, invited me to a party in Orlando. To be honest with you, I didn't want to go to that party. Like I was at my friend's house, I'm like, bro, I might just go have one drink and then just go back home. I didn't want to go, right? And he's like, bro, I already got your ticket. Just come out. I'm like, cool. It was a Labor Day party, by the way,
Okay.
all white day party. So I went, and then that's when I met Jessie.
Oh,
And then,
wow.
yeah, my friend and her friends were friends, and then he knew they were gonna be there, so they introduced us, and then we met since. And then I found out she was doing insurance. She didn't say it, but she always make a joke like, I told him that if we're gonna be together, you gotta do insurance. That was not the case. I love what I was doing. I love helping people, and with the insurance business, it's pretty much the same. Like I love helping people. Like I get a kick out of it when someone said thank you for something you just doing out of the kindness of your heart, right? My prior business was helping people lose weight and feeling good, being healthy. When you help someone lose 10 pounds and they're like so excited, that self confidence is like through the roof and they get so crazy excited. It's like, and they say thank you. You can't pay for someone to tell that kind of thank you, right? I can pay
Yeah.
you, I can pay you $1 million just to say thank you like that. It's not the same feeling. because I paid you to say that. When somebody come out of their heart and say, thank you for everything you've done for me, that's, there's no price on that. So with insurance, it's the exact same thing. Like I help you save thousands of dollars on your health insurance bills. You go to the hospital, you're stuck. Now, you have a great insurance plan, and you only pay a couple $100 a year, if that, right? Or
Yep.
God forbid, you get that phone call, which I've had before, so and so passed away. Well, I sold them a life insurance policy, not a life insurance policy being paid for. I mean, it's not going to bring your family back, but it will put you in a better situation where if you didn't get that policy, you'd be in a much worse situation than what you are now. But so when somebody said thank you for doing that,
Yeah.
it's yeah, it's priceless, man.
Yeah. I mean, that right there is how I fell in love with the industry. I think, like I said, I was looking for a way to make money differently than how I was making it at my job. But um, and I saw the opportunity in the industry first. But when I started sitting with clients and I started realizing how thankful they were for the service and the help and putting them in a better position where they felt more confident, uh, I really fell in love with what we do.
Oh yeah.
And I don't think people understand that. And I think there's a lot of people that are in the industry for the wrong reasons. And I think when it stops becoming about money and it just becomes about serving others,
Mhm.
it becomes part of you. It's like it's a purpose.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
And I can honestly say I fell in love with insurance as far as helping people first before it became about money. Because I mean, I just got my license, because Jesse's doing it, and I'm like, okay, I need to get
Yeah.
my license and be like a power couple and all that stuff, right? And she was like showing me her numbers. I'm like, I kind of make this money already. So that didn't impress me. So the income did not impress me at all. But then we went to a conference. I saw Patrick Bet David at a conference, and he was talking, and I found out his net worth at that conference. I was like, holy crap. You mean I could do this and feel good about doing it and helping people and actually have that? I'm like, okay, that's a different story. So at that point, that's when I like, okay, this is what I want to do. I want to make a career out of this. I want to make sure I learn everything I can about it and everything. First and foremost, do right by every client. Everyone that I come across, I want to do right by you. But at the same time, I want to learn exactly how to do certain things to where I'm helping the client, but I'm also positioning myself to be in a much better position in the future to be able to provide for my family. I leave something for my kids, like a legacy, something. And that's when that kicked in. But I fell in love with this process of selling and caring for people and make sure everybody have the right coverage. I fell in love with that part first.
Yeah. I think that's the right order. And so many people have that order flipped, right? Is take care of
Yeah.
them first and take care of yourself. You'll take care of yourself in the process, but man, look after the client first, and it's unfortunately it's a thing in our industry that um it's a little too often you see it flipped around. So um but yeah, you mentioned your journey. You're quite frankly, you're married to one of the baddest women in the industry, I think.
She's probably like top two
She's
in the insurance industry, if not
yeah,
top one.
yeah. Oh yeah. So
Top two.
and then
Yeah.
I believe you guys run it's a nine-figure business at this point, right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yeah. So, obviously there's
I thought I wasn't
you're
talking about numbers.
yeah, you're being definitely being modest, but tell me about the progression, right? You fell in love with it. There's a lot to learn in this industry. How long did it take you to feel like confident that you were doing the right thing for the client? You were actually good at what you do?
So I'm gonna tell you, I failed that test a lot. So getting my license, I didn't pass it the first few times going around. So I think like from taking it over and over again, and I was actually learning along the way, like, okay, so that makes sense, that makes sense, that makes sense. When I finally passed it, it's like it all makes sense, right? But then as far as like applying it to a real life scenario, here's a client in front of you, I want to say about 2 weeks. For the first 2 weeks, I was calling people, I was quoting people. I have no idea what I was quoting. I was just going by what Jesse had on the video that I was watching. I would watch that video, go back. Okay, so you do this with that one. And then another client, okay, so you put this and this together. I have no idea what I was doing. I was just following the video. Like I'm really good at following instructions, right? So I was following the video, doing that. And then in about 2 weeks of making sales, a light bulb went off. If I had clicked like that's where I'm connecting these two policies. That's why I'm putting these two, three products together to cover this, to close out that gap and make sure it's a full package, right? So
Yeah.
2 weeks later, that once I learned that, that was it. It's
Well,
been since.
let's talk about this, Milo, because I think people will hear 2 weeks and they'll think, oh, I'm supposed to get this in 2 weeks. But how many quotes and how many phone calls did you actually make in those 2 weeks in order to get that experience and build that skill set?
A lot. It takes a lot. I mean, I don't, if you read Jess's book, she's talking about she did 400 to 600 calls a day, and it's a lot. It's a lot. You're not just gonna come into this business and like, boom, I'm successful in 2 weeks. Or it might take you a month. Jessie took 4 months, like, before she finally get the hang of it and then realized she tweaked a few things. And that's the thing, I'll apply this to generation too. As as the generation keeps going, things get easier. You find ways to tweak things and leave it off for the next person, and then they find a way to make it better and leave it off for the next person. And then to her making 400 to 600 calls a day, she found a way to make it, it gets easier. So by putting these products together, instead of having to call 600 clients to get this many product, you can have 300 clients and have the same amount of product, right? It's
Right.
you look into bundle and stuff like that, and just make it easier. But it is not easy. When I first started, I think like I used to go to the building we had in Orlando, and I got to like I think 200 calls by like lunch. I was so excited. I'm like, babe, I got like 200 calls already. That's it, right? I'm like, Jesus Christ, you like a beast, man. She's on beast mode forever. So I went downstairs, got back to my computer, and we get free leads. So it's not like you have to go fetch for it. You don't have to go pay for it or anything like that. It's just a matter of the leads right there. It's just a matter of you want to pull it and calling it. So I just got back to my laptop. Next lead, next lead, next lead. I really put my head down for like the first 8 months. I didn't have no side thing. I didn't party. I wasn't doing any other business. And one thing I can tell a new agent right now, when you get started, you're going to get distracted, not by choice, but by everything else that's in the industry, right? You calling you like, I want to do health insurance. So and so is going to call you, hey, you want to do IUL? Let's add that to your book of business. Let's add Medicare to your, that's another crazy beast on its own. Let's add Medicare to your business.
Yeah.
Let's add life insurance. Let's add final expense. And I say, don't do that. Like really, like put your head down 6 to 8 months, work, focus on one product, master that product, understand it where you can do it with your eyes closed. I can explain this product to a blind person, to a deaf person, find a way, like find any kind of way to explain it to any kind of anyone, right?
Yeah.
That's when you understand that product. And then you can add something else. So for the first 6, 8 months, bro, I put my head down and I was just calling and learning the product, calling. And my residual hit on month 9. I was like, oh, okay. I see how
There you
this
go.
works. And I know how to multiply. That's I read the
Yeah.
multiple ad, so I'm like, okay, we need to multiply this. And I did, and then I did, and then I finally hit partnership. And then you saw the numbers.
Yeah. And that's what I wanted to get at because I like I said, I think people will hear that you say 2 weeks, but they won't realize the work and the commitment that you put into those 2 weeks to
Oh yeah.
even get this thing off the ground and get it going, right? Because some people they won't put that effort in for a full year
No,
and they're
no.
not going to go anywhere. And like you said, all the distractions. By the way, when I left my job, my mentor he told me, he goes, hey, Michael, as soon as you leave your job, there's some things that you got to watch out for. He said, number one, you're working extra hard right now because you have the pain of going to that job and you want to get out really bad. He goes, as soon as you leave that job, the pain's going to go away and you're going to have to show up because you're disciplined to show up.
Hmm.
And I truly struggled with that. It took me about 2 months and my bank account going empty to realize like, oh, I need to show up and I need to work. Um, and then, I had a girlfriend that I had just met. Well, I had known her for a while, but we had just got together, and that was like right when I left my job and ended up going back to court after 5 years with my daughter's mom. And just all these things hit right when I left my job and I decided to become an entrepreneur. So I think not only are you going to have all the distractions from even within the industry, but I think most people, he said the enemy's going to hit you, and
Oh yeah, they're gonna
in so
they're
many
gonna find
ways.
a, they're gonna find a pinpoint. Um,
Yeah.
one thing I say, like one of my quotes is, help people get what they want out of life, and you'll get yours in the process. So don't put yourself first. And a lot of people, you might hear like, AT or, they talk about, enjoy the process, right? And while you're enjoying it, make sure it's not something for you. Like I'm sure your reason, is for your daughter, right?
Yeah.
And whenever it's about you, you're gonna hit some roadblocks and you're gonna hit some speed bumps. And you will, if you're not strong enough, those speed bumps will make you quit whatever you're doing. If it's about you. If it's strictly for you, you're doing it for yourself, oh well, I can do something else. Right? But when you're doing something for someone else, for your daughter. Like for me, I'm doing stuff for my daughter, my mom, like my, wife and, our family here. And it's different. I can hit a roadblock right now. I don't care what kind of roadblock it is. I will overcome that. Well, one, through God, and then two, because I have a purpose. Like I need to get this done no matter what.
Yeah.
Nothing's gonna stop. So it's beyond. And believe it or not, your kids are watching.
Yeah.
It's like my daughter, I can tell a little story. Her mom and I, we split when she was 2 years old, right? And I've always been working for myself, and there's time like child support payments late, and there was one time after I filed for bankruptcy, child support was really late, right? But
Yeah.
then I would rather work for myself, making 50 grand a year, working for somebody else, slaving hours away, and making 100,000. I would rather choose the 50. And then because you have so much more freedom as what else you can do with your time, right? And one thing she said to me when we first moved here to Georgia, she works at Publix, and she goes, "Now I see why you work for yourself." And, it shows like they see it. They now they go through the experience themselves, and it's like, okay, I see things.
Yeah.
So the kids are watching.
For sure. For sure. You know what I call that, Milo, when you just mentioned a bit ago, as far as doing it for someone else, and if you do it for yourself, you're probably going to quit. It's
Yeah,
For me, I tell people that you got to marry your goals to your business. It's not that the business is the goal, it's just the vehicle to get to your goals, but is is your goal married to your business? And so for me, it's all about my daughter and taking care of there and being able to be present for her. And so for me, quitting the business isn't quitting the business. It's actually quitting on what I'm doing for her.
correct. Yep,
It's quitting on her, right? And so I'll never quit, no matter what.
yep.
Uh, and that's the mindset. And I know that's what you're getting at. But I mean, that would be my advice to any entrepreneur. I don't know if, obviously you've been through the trenches. You came out the other side, Milo, and I really appreciate you being on today. Is there any last words of advice you would give maybe somebody looking at getting into the insurance or even just becoming an entrepreneur?
Um, on the entrepreneur side, I mean, honestly, I would say personal development. Honestly, that's first. And personal development could mean so many things. It could easily mean read a book, like read a couple of pages from a book every day, right? Read a few verses from the Bible every day. Like, I don't know if you can see behind me, but right there's my Bible. So I keep it, right there in front of my office every day. That's my goals behind me. So I keep my goals very close to me. Whatever it is you're doing. And then as far as the insurance side, find yourself a good mentor, someone who's willing to teach you. A lot of people, there's a lot of recruiting online. People will recruit you, get your license, will teach you, but they're not gonna teach you because they have so many people to teach. Like the thing of you getting that one-on-one attention is probably very slim to none, right? So it's find yourself a good mentor, someone who's willing to sit down with you and show you the ropes, and not just gonna quit, but also for yourself. If this is something you seriously want to do, you need to actually dedicate the time for it. Like we get some agents here, and I can tell you right now, I would spend time with teaching you the products, teaching you how to dial, teaching you how to overcome objections, right? Well, the one thing I cannot do for you is pick up that phone and call that lead for you. That is one thing I will not do for you, right? And we have some people come in, they're like, I'm dialing. One guy said, I've been calling all month and I got nothing. I'm like, how many calls did you make? And then I can pull a report. Okay, you're not gonna be rich in a month making 125 calls. That's I can tell you that right now. That's an hour work, and you put it into a whole month, and then you said the system doesn't work, or it's not for you. No, it's not. Of course, it's not for you because you don't want to do the work. But if you really want to do the work, find yourself a mentor that is internet connection is unstable. Find yourself a mentor that is willing to help you, but also be willing to commit to yourself and your goals. That's what I would tell anybody who wants to get into insurance.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'd say it's a 100% partnership, just like a marriage, right?
Yeah,
Both sides got to give 100%. But Milo, I appreciate you, coming on with me today. By the way, I really appreciate your story because, there's a lot of people in the industry that, will say they believe in God and they'll talk about faith. And then there's certain people that you actually talk to them and you realize, no, they went through it with God, and
oh
and then
yeah.
you can see the difference. You can see the difference. So
Still going through
um,
it.
yeah, for sure. So anyways, Milo, I appreciate you. Guys, if you want to connect with Milo, I'm going to put his information in the description below. Feel free to reach out to him. He runs a great insurance industry, and like he said, you got to find yourself a mentor to plug into. And then I'll also leave my information if you want more information on the life insurance side and the financial planning what we do. Please reach out and we'll connect.